Okay, here is my 2021 Taotao Tbr7 honest 500 mile review. Some things I've done is, well, we'll start with the tires. So I took off the 50-50-ish street tires and put on one of the more aggressive sets of DOT compliant tires that you can run. My front is a 100 by 90 19, and the rear is a 130 80 17. So I've changed the exhaust. I changed the carburetor twice actually. First one was a PZ30 VM26 from JFG, which works great. I have no complaints. I just switched to a Nibbi PE30 because I'll be switching to a ported head, so the additional airflow for me works. I've changed the ignition coil out for a Nibbi ignition coil and a non-resistor style MSD boot, and then I'm running an NGK Iridium plug. I switched out the stock foot pegs for these ones here, as well as the rear brake lever tip, which you just cut the old one off, drill 2 holes, bolt the new one in place. That way you got the nice grippy studs coming out of them for whenever your feet get wet. Since I built this bike more as an adventure style bike, not really for the road. I mean, it's plated and it's road legal, but it's not really what I'm building it for. I switched out the stock halogen for an H6M LED, as well as the running light. I switched that for a 194 or 168 LED. Either one works fine. They both fit in the same socket. For hand guards, again, I had the JFG racing hand guards, which they worked fine. There's nothing wrong with them, but the Tusk ones are just a lot stronger. But a nice bonus was they have the turn signals built right into them. That way my turn signals are no longer here, and I bought off-road auxiliary lights to put in place of them. That way whenever we're back in the woods, it gets dark, I can flip those on and see as far as I need to. I changed the bars over to a Pro Taper Adventure Evo because I really just did not like the stock bars. They're 1 1/8" fat bars, and I used a Pro Taper clamp. I also changed the mirrors since they just do not hold position. You can tighten them and readjust them, and a day later they're loose again. I mean, I don't know, that could have just been the set I got, but for 17 bucks off Amazon, these ones work great. I also switched the stock analog cluster over for a digital one. Everything works like it should. As you can see, this odometer has 262 miles on it, and in kilometers, my previous one had like 375. So give or take, I'm at the 500 mile mark. As far as rear lights go, this is something I just recently did. So I took off the stock turn signals and I eliminated that really goofy looking rear fender that hung way down here for whatever reason. I mean, even new sport bikes, they all come with some form of bulky rear. So I added these bullet style, which also integrated the turn signals. So as you see, I don't have any rear turn signals. Even though it's red, the inner set of LEDs here light up amber. And again, even though the lens is red, they actually light up really nice in amber. I was pretty surprised. In order to do that, you have two options. One, you can just make a bracket that'll connect to these 4 mounting holes here, like the stock one did, and you just run it across, bend it up, and then you can bolt the new light to it. I just cut a piece of 12 or 14 gauge plate. I don't remember what it was. I just grabbed it out of my scrap pile, and I actually welded it up here to the frame. That way that ain't going anywhere. And now it just unbolts with the 2 screws on the back, and I reused the stock wiring connector, so I mean it comes right off just like stock. I mean, so far 500 miles in, which is mostly from the woods. So me accumulating 500 miles, it's probably more like 1,500 or 2,000 road miles. I haven't had any actual mechanical issues with these bikes. All in all, I have to say they're a great bang for your buck. I mean, you get this bike shipped to your door for $1,650. For a road legal 2021, I don't think you can do much better than that. I mean, it's got a 3.6 gallon tank on it, right out of the box, or crate, as you would call it. As long as you rejet the stock carb, I mean, they run great. Everything I've done to it is to generate more power or more torque for the type of riding I do personally. I mean, I have zero like genuine complaints. I mean, I've eliminated most of the stock bolts. That would be one of my complaints. A lot of these bolts are just terrible. Whatever they make them out of, I'm not really sure, but they bend pretty easy. They're definitely not the best quality. Again, I swapped the front master for an aftermarket universal one because from the manufacturer, your throttle cable gets pinned pretty hard against it, so that was something I didn't like. And then swap the clutch side too. Your stock mirrors fit. There wasn't any modification needed for that. I do have the factory front brake lever on this side. I got to order another one. The bike got tipped over. I didn't have hand guards on, so it snapped. But I mean, changing the oil, changing the fork fluid, and changing the brake fluid, changing the spark plug, and rejetting the carburetor is really all you need to do to make these into a nice, comfortable bike to ride. Added a little rear luggage bag to carry stuff, tools, extra parts for when we're out in the woods. If something does happen to break, I got a replacement. Oh, and I swapped the chain over to an R&K since I just don't want any problems with the stock chain. Mine didn't seem too bad. You know, 50, 70 miles in, it didn't seem like it stretched or anything, but I would just rather be safe than sorry. I don't want to be 50 miles back in the mountains and had my chain snap. So there's that. I switched to an IMS shifter. That way the front tip folds in just in case it gets snagged on anything. I didn't have any major complaint with the stock shifter other than the fact that the tip just didn't fold. And hiding under that sprocket cover is a 17 tooth front. The rear is a factory 46 tooth, so I'm on 1746 gearing. Bike will do about 70, 72, but more importantly, it has a lot of power that it didn't have before getting to 70 miles an hour, which again, like I said, I didn't build it for speed. I built it more for power to go through the woods. I mean, I have dirt bikes and such, but without a license plate, you can't ride them in 23,000 acres of land that we have here to ride them in, since they need to be road legal in order to ride in the woods. To me, that's a little ridiculous, but that's the state and federal land laws, so I comply with them. I mean, if you're thinking about buying a dual sport, either for road use or, in my case, for, you know, mostly woods use, I definitely would consider buying a Tbr7 or a Hawk 250. There's also the Raven, I believe Moto Cheese has on his channel now. I think that's his newest one. In a general sense, they're all the same. Some of them come with a 21-inch front wheel. The Tbr7s have a 19. Most of the videos on my channel, you can find the links for just about everything here that I'm using. If you can't find one of the links, please do leave me a comment. I'll be more than happy to get it for you. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Again, just leave a comment. I do respond, and usually pretty quickly because I get the alert right to my phone. But like I said, I mean, that's my honest 500-mile review. I haven't broke anything on this bike that would be, you know, major, that would leave you stuck anywhere. You know, again, for $1,600 and putting maybe $500 into it for parts, I have no complaints. For, you know, let's just call it $2,200 all in for a 2021 with 0 miles. I don't know how you could do much better than this. I mean, this thing pulls. It takes me everywhere I need to go. I take it down Jeep trails, pretty rough terrain. I've had 0 issues. All in all, I think it's a great bike, and I think it'll be around for quite a while, as long as you do the general service on it. Please remember to adjust your valves every 500 to 700 miles. I set mine to 0.003, both intake and exhaust. You can set them to 0.002. You can go as far out as 0.004. I see some people say, you know, 0.005 intake, 0.007 on exhaust. I definitely don't recommend going with that large of a valve lash. That's just me. Maybe you do, and you've had success with it. Personally, I don't recommend it. One thing I did want to cover here, so obviously I'm using the JFG Racing exhaust, and I see a lot of these aftermarket exhausts, they cause people to melt their air box. Now, I wrap mine with heat tape, but prior to wrapping it with heat tape, it was not melting the air box. I'm trying to find an angle to get in there. It's hard to see, but there is plenty of clearance with this exhaust versus that air box. Though, as you see, it's not my air box anymore. That's actually where my battery and my starter solenoid is. I relocated the battery from under that panel, into the middle where I felt like it should have been anyway. That way if the bike goes down hard on its left side, I don't have to worry about my battery getting broke. I mean, not that you couldn't just kickstart the bike to get home, but why break something if you don't have to? So, like I said, that's my review. If there's anything I left out, please don't hesitate to ask. And hopefully this helps you decide whether you want to buy a Tbr7, a Hawk, or any of the other similar bikes out there. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.